Hello, and welcome to Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's Kids Club at Home. My name is Kevin, and once again, I'm really happy that you could join us this week, especially in this brand new setting. Now, for this week's activity, we will be creating a summer reading scavenger hunt because we're celebrating summer reading here at the library. That involves making a big list of summer reading challenges, picking the ones we like best, and then putting it all together to use yourself or to give to someone. We'll also be creating a bookmark to go along with it. Now, caregivers, the benefits of summer reading are pretty well established at this point. It helps create a lifelong reading habit, it boosts reading skills, and it helps build community and connection. But this activity in particular helps with goal setting. Allowing kids to self-chart and create a list of achievable goals and pursue them at their own pace really helps them get motivated, especially intrinsically, from their own selves instead of motivated by incentives or other things like that. Goal setting is a really important skill to build, and this activity will help with that. But before we get started, let's do this week's Icebreaker. And this week, I want to know, what is an unusual thing that you have used as a bookmark? Now, I've got to tell you, library workers, we find some pretty unusual bookmarks in the books that come back to us in return bins. And I myself am guilty of using unusual things as bookmarks as well. I think the most unusual bookmark I've used is a book. I'll show you what I mean. Let's say I'm reading a book, 3 Keys by Kelly Yang. It's a great one. Reading it, and then I'll realize that I have to rush off somewhere pretty quickly, and I'm looking around for something to put in it, and I can't find it, except I can. Sometimes I'll use a smaller book, put it in, and then I can hit the road and not have to worry about losing my place. A book as a bookmark. Nice and simple. So what about you? What's an unusual thing that you've used as a bookmark before? Let us know in the comments, wherever comments are open. So as I said, this week we will be creating a summer reading scavenger hunt for you or for someone else that's full of fun summer reading challenges. You may know that this summer the library is encouraging all Pittsburgh youth to read 5 books. Maybe you've already read 5 books. I haven't. Maybe you've read just 1 or 2. Maybe you haven't started at all. That's fine also. It can be tricky to figure out where to start when there are so many great choices out there, and maybe this activity can help with that. Either way, whether you're creating this scavenger hunt for yourself or for someone else, it's important, I think, to take a moment to think about who you are or who they are as readers. Whoever will be using this scavenger hunt, what do they like to read? What do maybe they not like to read so much? Where and when and how do they like to read? Do they like to read in bed, late at night, first thing in the morning, sitting completely still, moving around? Whether you're thinking about yourself or whoever you might be giving this to, it's important to think about their preferences, likes, dislikes, and experiences before we decide on what to include in our summer reading challenge. So take a moment to think about it. We might want to include a range of difficulties in our challenges, and knowing who you are or who the recipient is as a reader will really help with that. You may have received supplies for this week's activity in a grab-and-go kit available at select CLP locations. Your adult can call 412-622-3114 to learn more about these kits. But if you don't have one, that's totally fine. You'll still be able to participate with the use of a few pretty simple household items. Now, before we even think about how we're going to display our final summer reading challenge scavenger hunt, we need to actually come up with some individual summer reading challenges. Now, what do I mean by a summer reading challenge? Well, here are some examples. A challenge could be read a book outside, listen to an audiobook, read a book to someone else, read a book late at night, read a book about aliens. You can see there are so many different directions you can go and a lot of room for creativity in deciding what challenges might work for you or for someone else. Now, so I can really see my big list of ideas, I'm going to brainstorm some summer reading challenges. Now, for me, that means a piece of paper and something to write with, and writing down every single summer reading challenge idea that comes to my mind in the span of a few minutes. For me, brainstorming also means not thinking too much about whether your ideas are ridiculous or reasonable. It's really about getting everything you're thinking out there somewhere so that you can look at it at the end and decide what works and what doesn't. brainstorming also doesn't have to involve writing. You could have a conversation with someone else. If you're not comfortable writing, you can ask someone to write down your ideas for you. Whatever it is, the most important part of brainstorming, like I said, is just to get it all out there so you can look at it at the end and make some decisions. So for me, I'm going to just write my ideas down, and then we'll look at them together and talk about what ideas might make it into my final scavenger hunt. You can do the same thing. So I finished my brainstorming session, and as you can see, I decided to write them all down with a colored pencil and a piece of paper. And here are some of the ideas I came up with for my summer reading scavenger hunt. You might be able to read some of them. So there's a mix of things here. There's things like read a book released in 2021, this year. There's fall asleep while reading. That's getting easier and easier for me to do these days, so that wouldn't be too hard, I don't think. Read a book in a park, read some poetry. Oh, read a book that someone recommended to me. These are just some of the ideas that came to mind during my brainstorming session, and there are a number of them that I really, really like and that I will probably use on my final list. So how about you? How did your brainstorming session go? Whether you wrote them down or asked someone to write them for you or just had a conversation about it. Do you notice any patterns or trends in your ideas? Anything that looks pretty easy for you and some things that maybe look a little more challenging? Are there any observations about who you are as a reader based on what you wrote down during your brainstorming session? Now, it's time for us to choose our final ideas to make it into our final summer reading scavenger hunt. And to do that, I'm just simply going to look at my list, maybe write a few more down, and then pick a few, I would say at least 5, because this summer we're encouraging everyone to read 5. Pick a few ideas that you really think could work for your final scavenger hunt, and then in just a moment, we'll talk about how we want to display those final ideas. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a look at my piece of paper now, make some final decisions, and I'll see you in a moment. Now that I've decided on my final list of summer reading scavenger hunt challenges, it's time to display them all together. Now there are several ways that you could do this. You could do this as a checklist, a simple list of the challenges with maybe little boxes next to them that you check off as you complete them. You could display them as a bingo card. This is an opportunity for you to use some of the supplies from the kit, some supplies from home, and think about your own preferences and creativity to create a summer reading challenge display that really works for you or for whoever you're giving it to. Now for me, I'm actually going to display my final 11 challenges as soccer players on a soccer field. Now, you may know that there have been 2 major international soccer tournaments this summer, and I've spent a lot of time looking at soccer players and soccer formations, and there's kind of a cool way that they lay them all out on the field so you can see which players are where. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create a very simple soccer field display, put my challenges out on the field like they're players, and then that'll be a fun way and a personal way of keeping track of what I'm reading and in what order I'm doing it. You'll see what I mean if you keep watching. The most important thing is be creative, have fun, and show your personality. There's no right or wrong way to do this. As long as you're displaying all of your final challenges in some way, you're doing great. So at long last, I've put together my final 11 reading challenges on my soccer field, and let's take a look. Here they all are. These are my scavenger hunt challenges for this summer, and I think it turned out pretty well. Now down here at the bottom, near my goalkeeper and defenders, I have my nice safe choices. The challenges I think I can probably do without too much trouble. Read a book until I fall asleep. That happens anyway these days, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Read a graphic novel, read a book that just came out this year, read the first book in a series, and listen to any audiobook. I tend to do those things anyway, so like I said, not too tricky, I don't think. Now here in my midfield, I have slightly more aggressive goals. Read a magazine. I don't usually read magazines. Same for nonfiction. Don't usually read nonfiction. Read a book recommended to me. I get lots of recommendations, but I don't always follow up on them. And read a book to an animal. I don't have a pet, so I guess the neighborhood birds are going to hear some stories. Then up top, I have the 2 reading challenges that I think will be the biggest stretch, the most aggressive choices for me this summer. Read poetry. I never read poetry. and read a book the year I was born, in this case, 1986. I tend not to read books from that long ago. So, how did your final challenges turn out, and how did you choose to display them? Did you include a mix of tricky, medium, and easy? If you made your display and challenges for yourself, do you have an idea of which one you'll start with? If you made it for someone else, do you think you'll know where they'll start? So now that we've come up with our scavenger hunt, let's make a bookmark to go with it. Even if you don't read physical books, even if you read books on a screen or listen to audiobooks, it's still nice to have a bookmark around in case you or someone else needs it. Now, caregivers, creating a bookmark is going to involve practicing fine motor skills, those skills that involve the small muscles in the fingers and the hand. Cutting, drawing, tracing, measuring, all of these activities practice fine motor skills, which are actually really important for artistic, literacy, and even social experiences down the road, and it's a really great thing for young children to practice. For my bookmark, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to cut out a couple pieces of cardstock, probably into rectangles, glue them together, and then draw a colorful or cool pattern on it. At least that's what I think I'm going to do. You, of course, can take it in whatever direction you want. There are all different shapes, sizes, and even materials that you can choose to create your own bookmark. I'm going to get cutting now, and I'll see you in a moment. So I just finished my bookmark that I know will help me keep track of my summer reading, especially the scavenger hunt, and here it is. As I suspected, I kept it pretty simple. Nice and rectangular, sturdy cardstock, perfectly good bookmark. The only really tricky part was keeping track of the colors and the pattern that I decided with them, but a ruler really helped me out with the lines and the measurement, and it was kind of calming and soothing to make this. Anyway, how did your bookmark go? What colors and patterns and design choices did you make? And like we talked about earlier in the video, does your bookmark say anything about who you are as a reader? All my bookmark says about me is that I like straight lines and order. Anyway, now that you have your scavenger hunt and your bookmark, you are ready to go out into the big wide world this summer and read 5. I really enjoyed creating our summer reading scavenger hunts together today. I hope you found it both fun and helpful in thinking about your summer reading goals. I can't wait to get started checking off players on my summer reading soccer field. Now, if you have suggestions for future activities for us to do together at Kids Club, we'd love to hear them. You can share them in the comments wherever comments are open on social media. You can find us on Twitter as @Carnegie Library, or track us down on Facebook at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Now, if you like today's activity, maybe even completed it, and are looking for books to get you started on your own summer reading goals, we have a great resource for you. You can check out School Library Journal's Summer Reading 2021 page. It includes dozens of amazing book lists organized by age, genre, theme, and more. Between those book lists and CLP's own kids and teen book lists, you should be in good hands for figuring out where to start your own summer reading activities. Now, if you are interested in reading a book about, well, reading, we have a great recommendation for you. The book is called The Oldest Student: How Mary Walker Learned to Read. It's a picture book biography written by Rita Lorraine Hubbard and illustrated by Mora, and it tells the incredible, amazing, true story of a 116-year-old woman who learned how to read when she was 116 years old. It's really an incredible thing to explore, and I encourage you to check it out. It's available in print or as an ebook on Overdrive or Libby, which means that once you check it out, it'll be available for you to read on your screen right away. And if that book doesn't suit your taste, just reach out to us anywhere we're online, and we'd be happy to make some recommendations for you. As you may know, every summer, Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh hosts summer reading. And while that program looks a little different this summer reading is still a really important tool for learning, exploration, and connection during those sometimes tricky out-of-school months. This summer, the library is asking all Pittsburgh youth to read 5. Books, ebooks, audiobooks, graphic novels, anything that's of interest. This helps with the transition back to school in the fall. It helps fend off that pesky academic summer slide, And maybe most importantly, it helps develop the habit of lifelong reading. You can sign up at www.carnegielibrary.org/summer, where you can log and track your reading using our Beanstack app. And maybe best of all, we're hosting book giveaways all summer while supplies last for kids and teens who visit our locations in person. So we really do hope to see you soon. Now, you don't need a library card for any of this, but if you would like to get one, we can help you with that. You can register at our website, carnegielibrary.org, or just give us a call at 412-622-3114, and someone will be happy to help you out. Thanks for hanging out with us at Kids Club at Home. Tag us at Carnegie Library and share what you made today. And be sure to keep an eye out for those grab-and-go kits at your neighborhood CLP locations. We'll see you next time.